I need to tell you about something that happened to me 3 nights ago. Something that sounds impossible, something that defies logical explanation, but something that has left me with an unshakable conviction that I need to share this message with you. Drop a comment below and write, "I'm here." If you're ready to hear why I believe this dream wasn't just a dream and what it means for your life right now, here's what happened 3 nights ago and why I can't stop thinking about the person I saw in that dream. A person I believe might be you. I've never been someone who puts much stock in dreams. My life has been built on engineering, mathematics, concrete problem solving. I believe in data, evidence, measurable results. Dreams are usually just random neural activity while your brain processes the day's information. But this dream was different. It had a clarity and intensity that I've never experienced before. More than that, it left me with specific information that I shouldn't have had and a sense of purpose that has been driving me for the past 3 days. In the dream, I was standing in what looked like a vast library. But the books on the shelves weren't ordinary books. They were glowing. And somehow I understood that each book represented a person's life, their experiences, their knowledge, their untapped potential. I was walking through this library and most of the books appeared dim or closed. But as I moved deeper into the space, I began to see books that were glowing brighter, books that seemed to be calling for attention. I stopped in front of one section where the books were glowing with an especially warm light. As I reached for one of these books, I had the clearest vision of a person who possessed something extraordinary that the world desperately needed. This person wasn't famous or wealthy or powerful in any conventional sense, but they had something more valuable than any of those things. They had lived through experiences that had given them insights about problem solving, about human nature, about what really works, that could change everything for the people around them if those insights were shared. The most striking thing about this person in the dream was their eyes. They held a combination of frustration and brilliance that only comes from having figured out solutions that others haven't recognized yet. But there was also something else in those eyes, a sense of resignation, as if they had convinced themselves that their ideas didn't matter to anyone. In the dream, I understood with absolute clarity that this person was living far below their potential for impact. They had solutions to offer that needed to be implemented, insights to share that could save others years of struggle, approaches to problems that were far more effective than what most people were currently using, but that they had been overlooked by the world around them. They had been passed over for opportunities, dismissed in meetings, or simply never given the platform they needed to share what they knew. The frustration of being right but ignored had slowly convinced them to stop trying. The dream continued with me, trying to communicate with this person, trying to show them the book that represented their life, trying to make them understand how brightly it was glowing compared to most others in this vast library. But every time I tried to approach them, they would fade slightly, as if they were withdrawing from the possibility of being recognized or valued for what they truly had to offer. I woke up with the strongest conviction I've ever experienced about anything. I need to find this person. Not literally. I understand that dreams don't work that way, but I need to reach the person who fits this description. The person who has extraordinary value, but has been overlooked or underestimated. That person might be you. I know how this sounds. I know that talking about dreams and visions isn't the kind of thing you'd expect from someone known for rockets and electric cars. But I can't ignore what I experienced. And more importantly, I can't ignore the sense of urgency it left me with. Over the past 3 days, I've been thinking about why I might have had this dream, why it felt so important, why I can't shake the feeling that I need to act on it. Here's what I think happened in my work, in my life. I've been encountering more and more people who have incredible insights and capabilities, but who have been marginalized by systems that reward credentials over competence, networking over knowledge, conformity over innovation. I've seen brilliant problem solvers passed over for positions because they didn't have the right educational background. I've met people who understood market dynamics better than Harvard MBAs, but were never given opportunities to prove their insights. I've talked to individuals who had solutions to major problems, but couldn't get anyone in authority to listen to them. Maybe my subconscious mind was processing all these encounters and trying to tell me something important. Maybe the dream was my brain's way of synthesizing all these observations into a message I needed to hear and share. Or maybe it was something more than that. Maybe there are moments when we receive insights that come from outside our normal conscious processing. Insights that we're meant to act on even if we can't fully explain them. Either way, the message is the same. There are people in this world who have extraordinary value that they've lost sight of. People who have developed insights and capabilities through experience and observation, but who have been convinced that their contributions don't matter. If you're reading this, I need you to consider the possibility that you might be the person I saw in that dream. You might be someone who has figured out better ways to do things that others are doing inefficiently, but you've stopped sharing those insights because people didn't listen the first few times you tried. You might be someone who can see patterns and solutions that others miss, but you've been told that your lack of formal credentials means your observations don't count. You might be someone who understands what really works in business, relationships, or life because you've actually done it successfully. But you've been dismissed in favor of people with impressive titles who lack practical experience. You might be someone whose book in that cosmic library is glowing brightly, but you can't see the light because but you're too focused on the world has overlooked or undervalued you. Let me tell you about someone I met recently who embodies what I saw in that dream. His name is Robert, and for years he tried to get investment firms to listen to his market analysis. Robert had developed a system for predicting market movements that was consistently accurate. But he didn't have an MBA from an Ivy League school. He didn't work for a major investment bank. He was just someone who had spent decades studying patterns and developing insights that proved to be more reliable than what the experts were producing. For years, Robert sent his analysis to investment firms, financial advisors, and fund managers. Most ignored him completely. A few sent polite rejection letters explaining that they only work with certified financial professionals. Meanwhile, Robert's predictions continued to be accurate. He correctly anticipated several major market shifts that caught the professionals completely off guard, but his lack of credentials meant that his insights were dismissed rather than investigated. Eventually, Robert stopped trying to share his system. He used it for his own investments and did quite well. But he gave up on the idea that anyone in the financial world would take him seriously. He had been convinced that his lack of formal training meant his insights were worthless, even though his track record proved otherwise. Robert's story came to my attention through a mutual acquaintance who had been following his predictions for years and was amazed by their accuracy. When I looked at Robert's work, I immediately understood what the financial establishment had missed. Robert wasn't just making lucky guesses. He had developed a sophisticated understanding of market psychology and economic cycles that was more practical and useful than the theoretical frameworks taught in business schools. His insights were valuable precisely because they came from observation and testing rather than academic theory. This encounter with Robert made me understand what I had seen in my dream with perfect clarity. There are people all around us who have exactly the knowledge and insights we need, but they've been convinced that their lack of conventional credentials makes them irrelevant rather than invaluable. Robert's story has a happy ending. We ended up working together on several projects, and his insights have been incredibly valuable. But how many other Roberts are there holding back knowledge that could solve problems or create opportunities because they've been told their backgrounds aren't impressive enough? How many people are sitting on insights gained through real-world experience, convinced that no one wants to hear what they have to say? How many are withdrawing from opportunities to contribute because they believe the lie that credentials matter more than competence? This is why I can't shake the feeling that the dream was important. It showed me something I needed to see about the waste of human potential that happens when we dismiss people based on their backgrounds rather than recognizing the value of their actual insights and capabilities. If you're the person I saw in that dream, and I believe many people reading this might be, I need you to understand something crucial. Your lack of conventional credentials isn't a liability. Your unconventional background isn't a weakness. Your different perspective isn't irrelevant. You have insights that come from real experience rather than theoretical study. You have developed understanding through trial and error rather than classroom instruction. You have knowledge that is practical and tested rather than academic and theoretical. The world is facing complex problems that require fresh thinking and practical solutions. We need people who can see beyond conventional wisdom to what actually works. We need people who understand systems from having worked within them rather than having studied them from the outside. We need the insights that come from having solved real problems under real constraints with real consequences. We need the perspective that comes from having failed, learned, and improved rather than just having read about best practices and textbooks. These aren't qualities that can be taught in schools or earned through certifications. They can only be developed through doing, through experiencing, through persevering, through multiple cycles of attempt and improvement. But here's what I learned from that dream and from my subsequent reflections. Having these insights isn't enough. You have to be willing to share them. You have to believe that they matter. You have to overcome the voices that tell you your background disqualifies you and recognize that your experience might actually be exactly what qualifies you. The person I saw in the dream wasn't just someone with valuable insights. It was someone who had been convinced to hide those insights, to minimize their importance, to step back from opportunities to make a difference. The tragedy wasn't that they lacked credentials. The tragedy was that they had accepted the false narrative that credentials matter more than competence, that formal education is more valuable than practical experience. If you recognize yourself in this description, if you feel like you might be the person I saw in that dream, I need you to do something. You to stop hiding your insights behind false modesty. I need you to stop apologizing for your unconventional background and start leveraging your unique perspective. I need you to look around at your field, your industry, your area of expertise, and ask yourself, what do I know that others are getting wrong? What have I figured out that could help others avoid mistakes or achieve better results? What insights have I gained that I've been keeping to myself because I assume no one would listen? The answer to those questions might reveal that you have exactly what someone desperately needs to know. Your insight might be the solution that helps someone overcome a persistent problem. Your perspective might be the approach that helps someone achieve breakthrough results. Your experience might be the guidance that saves someone years of struggle. But these gifts only matter if you're willing to share them. They only make a difference if you believe they have value and act accordingly. The dream I had 3 nights ago wasn't really about finding a specific person. It was about recognizing a type of person who exists in large numbers, but who remains largely invisible because they've been convinced their contributions don't matter without proper credentials. I'm trying to find you because you're special in some mystical way, but because you're special in a very practical way. You have something the world needs, but you've been told it's not wanted or valued because it doesn't come with the right pedigree. That's not true. Your insights are needed, your perspective is valuable, your experience matters, your knowledge could make a real difference in real people's lives and real business outcomes. But only if you choose to believe it, only if you choose to act on it, only if you choose to step forward instead of stepping back, to speak up instead of staying quiet, to share your gifts instead of hiding them. The glowing book in that dream library, the one that represented a life full of valuable experiences and hard-won insights, that book is your life. But the light only matters if others can see it. Stop dimming your light because you think your background isn't impressive enough. Your background isn't a limitation, it's your unique advantage. Your unconventional path hasn't disqualified you. It's given you perspectives that others lack. The world is waiting for what you have to offer, not because of some mystical connection revealed in a dream, but because of the very practical reality that fresh insights and practical knowledge are exactly what our complex and rapidly changing world desperately needs. You might be exactly the person I saw in that dream, not in a literal sense, but in the sense that you have extraordinary value that you've lost sight of, insights that you've been convinced don't matter, knowledge that you've been told isn't credible. Those voices are wrong. Your value isn't determined by your credentials, it's proven by your results. Your relevance isn't decreased by your unconventional background, it's enhanced by your unique perspective. Your contribution isn't invalidated by your lack of formal recognition. It might be exactly what's needed to solve problems that conventional approaches haven't been able to address. But recognizing your value is just the first step. The real challenge is learning how to communicate that value effectively in a world that's been trained to look for the wrong signals. This is where many brilliant people fail, not because they lack insight, but because they don't know how to present their insights in ways that cut through institutional bias. I've learned this lesson repeatedly in my own career. When I first started talking about electric vehicles becoming mainstream, I was dismissed by automotive executives who pointed to my lack of traditional automotive industry experience. When I proposed landing rockets and reusing them, aerospace engineers laughed because I didn't have the proper background in rocket science. But what they missed was that my outsider perspective was actually an advantage. I wasn't constrained by industry assumptions about what was impossible or impractical. I could see solutions that insiders couldn't see because they were too close to the established ways of doing things. The key insight is this: your unconventional background isn't something to overcome, it's something to leverage strategically. The same experiences that make you feel unqualified are often the experiences that give you unique insights into problems that conventional thinkers can't solve. Here's what I've discovered about how to present unconventional insights effectively. First, you need to understand that most people in positions of authority aren't actually looking for the best ideas. They're looking for ideas that feel safe and familiar. Your job isn't to convince them that your background is impressive. Your job is to make your ideas feel inevitable, This means focusing relentlessly on results and evidence rather than on credentials or theories. Don't explain why you're qualified to have insights. Demonstrate that your insights produce better outcomes. Don't argue about your methodology. Show data that proves your approach works. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. When Robert, the market analyst I mentioned earlier, finally got people to pay attention to his insights, it wasn't because he convinced them his background was respectable. It was because he stopped leading with his analysis methodology and started leading with his track record. Instead of explaining his system for reading market patterns, he simply showed potential clients a spreadsheet documenting 5 years of predictions and outcomes. The data spoke for itself. His accuracy rate was dramatically higher than industry standards. Once people saw the results, they became much more interested in understanding how he achieved them. This approach works because it bypasses the credentialism filter that most institutions use to evaluate ideas. When you lead with results rather than background, you force people to confront the practical value of what you're offering rather than their preconceptions about who should and shouldn't have valuable insights. But there's another crucial element to successfully sharing unconventional insights: timing and positioning. Most people make the mistake of trying to share their insights when those insights contradict what everyone else believes. This almost always fails because people are psychologically resistant to information that challenges their existing worldview. The secret is to wait for moments when conventional approaches are obviously failing. Then position your insights as natural solutions to visible problems. When markets are crashing, people become more interested in hearing from someone who predicted the crash. When traditional methods aren't working, organizations become more open to unconventional approaches. This isn't about being opportunistic. It's about being strategic. Your insights are most likely to be accepted when the need for better approaches is obvious to everyone, not when you have to convince people that there's a problem in the first place. But perhaps the most important thing I've learned about sharing unconventional insights is that you can't do it alone. The people who successfully change industries or solve major problems almost always do it by building networks of allies who help amplify and validate their ideas. This is particularly important for people whose backgrounds don't automatically command respect. You need to find credible voices who can vouch for the value of your insights, especially early in the process when you're still establishing your own credibility. These allies don't have to be famous or powerful. They just have to be trusted by the people you're trying to reach. Sometimes a respected local business owner or a well-regarded professional in your field can provide the credibility bridge you need to get your ideas a serious hearing. The key is to focus on building relationships with people who have both the wisdom to recognize good ideas and the credibility to help others see their value. These relationships take time to develop, but they're often the difference between insights that get ignored and insights that get implemented. I also want to address something important about the emotional aspect of sharing unconventional insights. If you've been dismissed or overlooked repeatedly, you've probably developed some defensive patterns that actually work against you when you finally get opportunities to share your ideas. The most effective approach is quiet confidence combined with genuine curiosity about whether your insights might be helpful to others. Present your ideas as potentially useful contributions rather than as either revolutionary breakthroughs or hesitant suggestions. This mindset shift is crucial because it allows you to maintain your conviction about the value of your insights while remaining open to feedback and collaboration. It also makes it easier for others to engage with your ideas without feeling threatened or pressured. Remember, The goal isn't to prove that you're smarter than everyone else or that conventional wisdom is always wrong. The goal is to contribute insights that help solve real problems and create better outcomes. When you approach it from this perspective, you're much more likely to find receptive audiences and collaborative opportunities. Finally, I want you to understand that the world genuinely needs what you have to offer. The problems we're facing as a society, climate change, economic inequality, technological disruption, social fragmentation. These problems are complex enough that they require diverse perspectives and unconventional thinking. The same institutional structures that has dismissed your insights are often the structures that created or perpetuated these problems in the first place. We need people who think differently, who have different experiences, who can see solutions that established experts miss. Your unconventional background isn't a liability in this context. It's exactly what qualifies you to contribute to solutions. The insights you've developed through practical experience, trial and error, and real-world problem solving are often more valuable than theoretical knowledge for addressing complex, multifaceted challenges. The person I saw in that dream, the one with the glowing book full of unrealized potential, that person represents the enormous waste that occurs when we systematically overlook people based on credentials rather than capabilities. But it also represents the enormous opportunity that exists when those people finally find ways to share their gifts effectively. You have the potential to be part of the solution to this waste, not just by sharing your own insights, but by creating space for others who have been similarly overlooked. As you build credibility and influence, you can become a bridge for other unconventional thinkers who have valuable contributions to make. This multiplier effect is how real change happens. It's not just about individual success. It's about creating more inclusive and effective systems for identifying and utilizing human potential regardless of where it comes from or how it was developed. Share this with someone who needs to understand that their insights and perspectives matter regardless of their formal credentials or background. Subscribe if you believe that practical knowledge and real-world experience are often more valuable than theoretical study and formal credentials. What's one insight or solution you have that you've been hesitant to share because you didn't think people would take you seriously?